Oh, do we dry fire? The indexing does have a little bit of an issue. Oh, another indexing issue. If indexed on its own, another indexing issue. What's up, guys? This is a video review for the Duece Pro. Despite what I just said in those clips, I still think you should get it, and here's why. Let's get into it. So Adventure Force contracts Dart Zone to make blasters for them, as well as a couple other companies. This one right here is one of those blasters made by Dart Zone. Let's start off with what comes in the box. So in the box you get the core blaster itself, this muzzle extension, which locks in. You get not one, not two, but 3 of these cylinder cartridges that hold 6 shots each. The blaster does need to be primed back to insert or remove these. But once you line them up, nice little spin, and prime. It does come with a little iron sight attachment here, but somehow I've already lost mine. I will say what it looks like is very similar to this one right here that comes off the Nexus and Aeon Pro, but this part right here is basically the same color as the rest of the body. Other than that, it's mostly the same and lines up similarly. It also comes with this drop leg holster, which I think is a pretty good design. Has a secondary component here to clip in. That way you can stick the blaster either here, all the way extended through, here, this part comes off and then stores the blaster separately, like this. However, this to me makes it more bulky, and also it looks like a kind of a pain in the ass to remove once you've put it in there. So I'm actually going to leave this part separately in my rig. This is a very nice design and a very good fit for the blaster itself. However, I'm not a huge fan of the amount of slack from here, or the amount of adjustability from this point to the attachment point of your belt. So for that reason, I'll probably either need to modify it, use something completely different, or not use a holster at all, which is what I imagine I'll probably do. I have seen someone in one of the Nerf Facebook groups who made a chest rig, so maybe there's something to that. It also comes with a storage system for the 2 extra cylinders that it comes with, which can be stored on a belt or maybe also in a chest rig. I don't know. The one I saw didn't have it on there. It is important to note, these do have a direction where these little pins are facing up. I know for sure that that's the way it's supposed to go because these tabs right here click and lock them into place so that they don't move. You can put pressure on your finger here to pop one out, get it, and do your reload. If you put it the other direction, it will fit, but as you can see, it could fall out very easily, so probably don't do that. It also comes with 18 rounds of the AF Pro darts. And with all this stuff, it retails for $40 US. That's right, $40. For all of this, one thing that immediately caught my eye about this blaster when I first saw it at Q3 of the Foam Pro Tour was the interlocking muzzle. When you look at it closely, you can see that's brass in there, which means there's probably a genuine difference in performance between shooting it like this and shooting it like this, which is awesome. And hopefully if they perform at 2 consistent different levels, it'll make this blaster very versatile for many different game modes. That being said, it does have a full length of Picatinny once the blaster is fully assembled with the muzzle. No Picatinny on the bottom, as that is where the holster slides into place. Another cool thing to note is that you can load from this little chamber right here. Now this blaster is a top prime cylinder fed revolver. It has a safety trigger here that you have to be pressing in order to pull the trigger. When you prime, the last little section of the prime actually indexes the cylinder itself. Once you slide this back, the pusher goes through the cylinder, therefore locking this into place. You cannot remove it at that point. Overall, I really like that they kept this in line with the aesthetics of blasters like the Conquest Pro, the Aeon Pro, and of course the Nexus Pro, at least the orange edition of that blaster. Very clean silhouette. There's no way someone's mistaking this for a real firearm, even if it didn't have a muzzle, which is a nice change of pace over the Dart Zone Pro Mark II. I know it did come in orange if you got it from Walmart, but I still think this looks more like a toy, and to me, That's a good thing for safety for public games. Speaking of the Mark II, it's one of the smallest pistol Nerf blasters or pistol foam flinging blasters around. So let's compare it in size to this one. When they have their muzzles on, I would say the profile is obviously smaller. Definitely longer. Skinnier. It's overall a smaller blaster, so it's definitely bigger, chunkier, if you will. When we remove the muzzles, that difference starts to become much more of a marginal thing. It's still chunkier, there's no way around that. But in a holster, I think it'll take up roughly around the same amount of space on your loadout. They're roughly the same weight, and they hold the same capacity. Now, this one does probably perform a little lower in this form, but when we get to the FPS testing, we'll be able to confirm that. As for the other blaster we were mentioning, the Aeon Pro, although they're both pistols and they're both top prime, this one right here is smaller with or without its muzzle. Another thing to note when comparing this to the Aeon Pro and the Mark II is I'm pretty sure just the prime feels a little easier. That's definitely important to me. Now that brings up the question, does the lighter prime mean less performance? Why don't we get over to the chrono and test some numbers. Alright, so as you can see, we got 5 of the AF Pros loaded in here. We're going to shoot 5 over the chronograph and see how it does. 116, Jesus. 105. 106. 117. 113. Alright, so now we're going to shoot another 5 of these and do it with the barrel on and see how that goes. $137. Duplicate 137. 105. That's strange. 155. And 124. Damn. Alright, this little hand cannon's got more than I expected out of it. Alright, now just for good measure, I know that these darts are lighter, so I'm going to try these in here, 5 over the chronograph, with this on there. See what happens. $153. $161. $122. 148, 146. Now again, just for good measure, we're gonna throw 5 of these worker HEs. These are the darts that I usually use for most of my competition level blasters, and see how that one does. $146. Duplicate 146, 147, 142, 117. Damn, okay, so that was like pretty consistent up until that last shot. I mean, we're talking a couple FPS difference and then that random shot. So, interesting stuff. So now, just for fun, we're going to see what happens when you front load this blaster with full lengths, because why wouldn't you want to do that, right? Not great. Let's try that again, but with the barrel on it and see if we get any improvement. Not bad. Let's see if we can duplicate that result. Oh yeah, that's totally usable. Yeah, so I mean, basically in that instance, all you're doing is pulling it, priming it, and sliding a dart down the front of it until it goes all the way back and firing it. I mean, if you were on the field and you had nothing, you had to scavenge, it's good to know that your last resort blaster, which this being a sidearm probably would be, also has the ability to, front load so that you can, survive when it's necessary. I think every extra option is probably a good option. Jesus, it's hot. With no muzzle and its included ammo, we're shooting 105 to 116. That's about 11 FPS difference from top to bottom. So I think we can call that right around 110 average, which is really good for any stock blaster, in my opinion, especially when comparing to like the Nerf Elite Standard, which is like 70 FPS, or Rival, which is roughly around 90 FPS. This outperforms both those. Now the real magic. When you put this thing on, you get an instant boost in performance. With its included AF Pros and the muzzle on, we got an average of roughly 135 feet per second with a low of 105, which is kind of an off shot, and a high of 155, which is also kind of an off shot. But really hot. I was not expecting this to perform in this tiny package in the range of a Nexus Pro at this size. That's crazy. They're getting more efficient. For sure, Dart Zone's getting more efficient. Now, of course, I did test a couple other ammo types. Bamboos, obviously, because the 2.0s are lighter, and also it's one of their pro ammos. Of course, with that, we got a high of 161 and a low in the 120s. So we're looking at an average bump of about 10 FPS, so 140s. I also tested it with the Worker HEs, and I did that because I use those most commonly. If I'm going to use this for what it's designed for, which is a sidearm, then I would use it with the ammo that I'm using with my primary blaster at this point in time, which is the Val M. And with that blaster, I use Worker HEs. What I can say about the Worker HEs is that we got a pretty much around 145 on every shot except for one, which hit a low of 117. So more consistent, and the average is higher. It's part of why I use them. Now we know how hot it shoots, let's go and see how accurately it shoots. Alright, so I got all three of the revolving speed loaners loaded up with a couple different kinds of darts. We've got one with all AF Pros, we've got one with Bamboos, we've got one with the Worker HEs, so all three of the types that we use. And we're just going to fire them at a distance of maybe 35-ish feet and see how it does on range. I mean, it doesn't have a scar barrel or anything, so I'm not expecting anything crazy out of it, but if you can hit someone with your sidearm at 35-40 feet, seems pretty reasonable request, especially for the for the power it's putting out. First up, AF Pros. Alright, well that was a hit. I don't know if you can tell on camera. Hit. Ooh, a little too high. That was my fault. Ooh, is that a bullseye? Oh, did we dry fire? And that one was a little low. So it looks like it might have indexed on its own. I've heard some people having problems with that, but immediately upon rapid firing, I guess I'm running into it. Does pack quite a punch though. Alright, here we got the Bamboos. Hit. Ooh, that one's fishtailed. Hit. 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 Alright, so it looks like it missed one shot this time instead of two. And that last shot always seems to be a little droopy. Maybe it's just my imagination, I don't know. Alright, now we got the red Worker HEs. Ooh, I gotta aim a little lower. That's a little too straight. Hit. Hit. Ah, we already indexed it incorrectly. Oh, I see. When I wiggled it, indexed twice. Interesting. Let's check. Yeah, that's all 6 shots. So the indexing does have a little bit of an issue, but it shoots pretty darn well in my opinion. Well, I guess it couldn't hurt to shoot a couple of full lengths, right? All right, we got a few full lengths. Let's see how that goes. Seemed a little less powerful, but it hit. That's a miss. Big ol' miss. Another miss. Ooh. Barely slid in there. Alright, so it's not a great idea to use full lengths for accuracy. We kind of already knew that, but again, it's usable in an emergency. You can do it. Alright, so now we got the camera backed up to the full 60 feet that we have available to us. Let's see if any of these will hit at that distance without arcing. If they do, I'll be somewhat impressed. It's not exactly an option to arc here because, well, there's drooping in the batting cage net. Ooh. Close but no cigar. Oh, that's in. Oh, another indexing issue. Oh. Oh, a little low. And that's everything. But I don't know how usable this is going to be if I have to look down the barrel to double check which shots I've fired and which shots I haven't every time I fire one. Alright, I thought just for the heck of it, we'd take the muzzle off, lose that performance, and see if from 60 feet we can hit anything. I got some random darts, I think maybe some max darts in here just to do a little quick comparison. Because some people might want to run it like this. Oh, I got caught in that net. Oh, it hit the target. I mean, it's not accurate enough to get in it, but it's close. That would be a tag if that was a person. I think that might have gotten in. That one was in. I mean, I definitely had to like kind of arc it a little bit, but it was there. No skipped index issues this time around, but I didn't use all of the darts, and I was also not priming that aggressively, so I don't know. Maybe it's on the user. But I'm pretty impressed that without the muzzle it can hit that. Let's head back inside and give you final thoughts. Alright, so with its included ammo, I did shoot 4 out of the 6 shots in the target at 35, 40 feet. When we moved over to the bamboos, I got 5 out of 6. We had one whirlybird that just kind of was really off, but other than that, at 35 feet, bamboos, great choice. And finally, with worker HEs, because again, that's the one that I would be using in the field with this if this was my sidearm, 5 out of 6. So all of these ones perform pretty much right around that 4 or 5 out of 6 at 35, 40 feet. That's great for me. This doesn't have any rifling. This doesn't have a scar barrel. In close quarters, like you most likely would be for either a mercy tag or in close quarters where a pistol would be more effective, then I think that's a good amount for what it is. Now we bump things back to around 60 feet at the end of the batting cage. And with its included ammo and the muzzle on, we got 3 out of the 6 shots we fired to be hits. Now, that target is roughly the size of a person in width, but it's much shorter, so some of those targets, or some of those shots that I didn't count for getting inside the basket definitely would have been a tag. So I think this blaster is very useful as a sidearm. If you're trying to shoot someone over 60 feet with your sidearm, I feel like somewhere in your planning you messed up. But if you're in that position, this might actually come through for you. Now, of course, we had to test it without the muzzle, and without the muzzle, we got a unsurprising 1 out of 6. It just doesn't have the power to support shots quite that far, and I imagine that shooting it without this really just means you're shooting it with no barrel at all. An inch of barrel at most if you count the plastic portion that's in there. Well, like you saw in the testing, I did have some indexing issues, and I'm obviously not the first one to have these issues, so it's not just my blaster. That being said, I did get a chance to use this blaster in a game, in a pistol round at one of the local clubs, and I didn't have as many issues after using it more and more, which means there's definitely a sweet spot. However, I don't think that that sweet spot should be as finicky as it is. There's definitely something in the design to be desired when it comes to that portion and the mechanism. Maybe a stronger spring could fix that so that you could prime it more aggressively, because in the heat of the moment, it is really hard to do that. And I don't think this is going to be super usable if I have to check and look down the barrel to make sure there's actually a dart in there every time before I shoot. Now, I said earlier in the video that I thought this blaster was worth it, and I'm going to explain why. First is the modification potential. So just looking at this blaster, if you line up a half-length mag, you can see that this has the potential makings to be the Adventure Force / Dart Zone Spamf. So that's definitely something that's cool, and it's got the performance to back it up without any other modifications. As long as there's a kit to make this accept half dart mags, it's already there. I also think there's a fun factor about this blaster, being that it's got gunslinger vibes, it's a revolver, it's a very fun blaster. It comes with a lot of stuff that other blasters wouldn't come with. I would expect a holster to come with a pro level blaster from Dart Zone, like the Mark II. This is $40 and that is $80. So they have the same capacity. They both have a lot of the same things, like an extra piece to hold their extra cartridges or speed loaders in the case of the Mark II. This is just a lot going on for a lot less than you'd expect it. It's a pro line blaster basically on store shelves. If you just want something that out of the box works, you want something to go alongside your Nexus, you want something to go alongside in a stock war, you can't modify it, you're looking to maybe put something together with like one of the newer offerings like the Tomcat or the Dictator or something along the lines of that, that's the situation where I think this might be a pass. I don't think everyone should get this, but I think that this is going to be a modder's paradise, and I think this is going to be a good platform for a lot of interesting builds in the future. Now, by the time this video comes out, I probably already have the review for the Dictator up, so if I do, I'll link it up here. That being said, Dart Zone is coming out with a lot of blasters this year, and I'm going to try to review them all. Let me know down in the comments which ones you're most excited to see. I think that's going to be all for today. Until next time, on the King of Games, have a blast.